Attention Innovision passengers, you are now cleared for departure to the 21st century.
Hey, that's some destination.
My wife's right. Wait till you see the interactive worlds of tomorrow, mystical farms and mushroom kingdoms, even colonies in space. But you know, this isn't exactly the first time anyone's tried to make this trip. Come on, I'll show you what I mean.
For nearly 200 years, amusement parks have beckoned patrons with promises of adventure and merriment. Traditionally a passive experience, with the turn of the century came a new style of attraction, one that allowed riders to interact with the experience around them. The concept's rudimentary forms first began to take shape in the 1920s with rider-controlled amusements like the Dodgems, or bumper cars as they're more commonly known as today. The 1940s saw the addition of the Herschel Looper, so named after its inventor Alan Herschel, where riders could press a pedal at their feet which would cause their car to freely loop as it spun around. Early carousels were among the first to implement a game of skill, where one could throw iron rings into various targets as they passed by, with the rare brass ring being worth a free ride. By the 1950s, the face of amusement parks would forever be changed, thanks in part to one man's dream of a magic kingdom, which would look like nothing else in the world and be surrounded by a train.
There's the grand old man himself, Walt Disney. This is the way a theme park looked to him back in the mid-20th century.
With the creation of Disneyland, the template of theme park immersion was elevated. First by employing classic theatrical techniques to bring the worlds of yesterday, tomorrow, and fantasy to life, and then, with the help of Walt's team of Imagineers, by pioneering brand new technologies like audio animatronics. Walt's park also took inspiration from the aforementioned guest-controlled attractions, as seen with the Mad Tea Party, Dumbo the Flying Elephant, and Autopia. By the early 1960s, Imagineering had not only set the standard in theme park immersion and storytelling, but were on the brink of a brand new type of experience altogether, one that would finally allow their guests to become active participants and control how the experience unfolded. A planned Chinatown expansion to Main Street, USA would have seen the park's first animatronic-focused restaurant, rumored to have been called the Golden Dragon. Diners would be entertained by an entirely animatronic show starring an interactive Confucius who, in addition to being Imagineering's first human animatronic, would have answered audience questions in real time with tongue-in-cheek words of wisdom, though there remains some debate as to whether the audience questions would have been pre-recorded. The project continued so far into development that a mock Confucius head was actually constructed, but the idea was soon abandoned in favor for an attraction dedicated to America's 16th president, saving us from the inevitable Eddie Murphy takeover in the 90s. The concept of an animatronic restaurant would soon be revived for Adventureland, where Confucius and his dragon would be swapped out for singing birds and crooning flowers, though it remains unclear if the Tiki Room was ever intended to be fully interactive. In another attempt at interactive dining, while developing Disneyland's private restaurant Club 33, Walt insisted on adding a few Disney-style touches throughout the venue, including several seemingly stuffed trophy animals who, through the use of cleverly hidden microphones in the chandeliers, and an unseen cast member, would occasionally spring to life and converse with the guests. Although this idea never came to pass, both the vulture and the chandeliers were actually constructed, and could be found in the trophy room until the club's remodel in 2014. Today, club members can still spot one lasting tribute, as the vulture has since migrated to the grandfather clock in the lobby, and, while not interactive, finally animates as originally intended.
But you're all looking simply dapper. Oh, we are so delighted.
Unfortunately, due to Walt's untimely passing in 1966, any further hopes of interactive shows, restaurants, or attractions were halted, with the company entering a period of stagnation as they struggled to move on without their patriarch's guidance.
Old Uncle Walt may not have had all the answers, but he had the right idea.
He was just a little ahead of his time.
Over the following years, Disneyland would continue to showcase basic forms of interactivity, like character meet and greets and shooting galleries. But the first narrative-driven interactive experience would not arrive until 1 year after Walt's passing. Conceived by Radu Sincera for the Czechoslovakian Pavilion at the 1967 International and Universal Exposition in Montreal, Knott is widely recognized to be the world's first interactive movie. Audience members would begin watching a film involving a man's apartment in flames, which was then rewound to show the events leading up to the fire. At 9 separate points throughout the story, a moderator would pause the film and ask the audience to vote for one of 2 possible outcomes. Using buttons built into their seats, the majority vote would determine how the film proceeded. Little did the audience know, however, the film would always arrive at the same conclusion of the apartment on fire, serving as Sincera's commentary on democracy. Knott revolutionized the concept of a narratively driven interactive experience, but it would take another 2 decades for the world's first truly interactive attraction to come to fruition.
I suppose people have always dreamed of new ways to interact with the world. We sure do.
But the only difference is that today, with what we know and what we're learning to do, we can really bring our dreams to life. It takes a lot of work, but the truth is, if we can dream it, we can do it.
Tomorrow's horizons are here, today.
Horizons opened in Walt Disney World's Epcot Center on October 1st, 1983, for the park's 1-year anniversary. Often thought of as the crowning jewel of Epcot, the attraction not only showcased every subject of Future World's 9 pavilions, it also played off of Walt's original intentions to build his own experimental prototype community of tomorrow. Designed as a spiritual sequel to the Carousel of Progress, Horizons followed the same family into the next century as they demonstrated the wonders of futuristic living. The 15-minute journey began by looking back at tomorrow, showing visions of the future as they were imagined by Jules Verne and Albert Robida, up to the science fiction serials of the 1950s. After passing by 2 giant Omnimax screens, displaying the modern wonders of scientific progress, the journey transitioned into the 21st century, where not much had changed, but they live underwater. Other communities seen along the way included bustling cities, orange-smelling farms, and suburban space stations orbiting 250 miles above the Earth. Featuring lush environments populated by over 50 animatronics, the entire experience was tied together by an original song from longtime Disney Parks composer George Wilkins, who promised riders that if they can dream it, they can do it. The journey culminated with guests being able to select their own trip back home from the future. Panels located in front of each of the 4 seats would let riders select the trip of their choice, land, sea, or space, with the vehicle's majority vote then shown on a dome screen that traveled at the same pace alongside the vehicle, essentially turning the slow-moving Omnimover into a simulator of sorts. For many, Horizon served as the pinnacle of Disney Imagineering, coupling state-of-the-art effects with an engaging storyline. Despite its ongoing popularity, however, the ride was unceremoniously closed first in 1994, and then again in 1999, after it had been temporarily resurrected to help absorb the crowds left behind due to Test Track's delayed opening. Today, another technologically advanced interactive attraction occupies the space where Horizons once stood. Small tributes to the attraction still remain, from luggage tags at Magic Kingdom's Space Mountain to Tokyo's version of Star Tours showing all 3 of Horizon's endings in their queue. Even though it may no longer inspire future generations of dreamers, Horizons remains not only the quintessential example of Epcot's original vision, but also one of the cornerstones of theme park interactivity.
What you've just seen are the building blocks for the future up ahead. And while it may look fantastic, remember, it's all possible.
That's right. Uh-oh, we gotta run.
We'll catch up to you later.
And now, it's your turn to venture out into the interactive worlds of yesterday, tomorrow, and fantasy. Of course, it always helps to have a few parameters when undertaking an expedition of this magnitude. All following examples of interactivity fall under three main classifications: interactive attractions, interactive queues or lands, and natural interactions, meaning those that depend on a living social component. Secondly, in the interest of time, we'll only discuss permanent interactive experiences, as well as ones that reflect a unique facet of the overarching idea. In other words, anything akin to your basic meet and greet, haunted house, or local museum may still qualify, but won't be shown in this exploration. And for those thinking that this all seems oddly similar to our shared universe exploration,
Yes, you're very smart. Shut up.
I'll see you all on the other side.
Attention, Innovision passengers. You are invited to choose your own interactive flight path back to the future port. Please look at the lighted panels on your screen. Select one of three categories of interactivity: attractions, lands, or natural. Everyone can choose. Majority rules. You will be able to view the remaining categories following each section. After viewing all three, select the future port to conclude your journey. All passengers, make your selections now.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to Innovision Transport Solutions. Today, I am offering the opportunity of a lifetime. I need flight crews to transport this valuable merchandise across the galaxy. Pilots to navigate, gunners to defend the shipments, and engineers to operate the ship. And that is where you come in. Let's look at pilots first. Following Disneyland's opening in 1955, attractions with rider-controlled movement would continue to become more prolific over the next several decades. Roger Rabbit's cartoon spin blended the concept of a teacup with that of the dark ride, where its riders could freely spin along the track. Which is nothing compared to Toontown's latest interactive experience, where you can help demolish the town for Judge Doom's freeway.
Freeway? What the hell's a freeway?
Dumbo the Flying Elephant has been duplicated numerous times with Arabian Dumbos, Jurassic Dumbos, and even Dumbos in space. Finally, the original Autopia could once be found in three exciting flavors: regular, junior, and midget. Rounding out this set was the sadly Weber-free Phantom Boats, which, fun fact, was the first permanent attraction to close in the park after just 1 year of operation. Legoland's driving and boating schools serve as their own interpretation of the classic car attraction, allowing student drivers to maneuver through an actual open course. Lego's theme parks also feature a variety of rider-powered experiences, including a tower that you pull yourself up, and a roller coaster you have to pedal through. Next up are the Gunners. And for once, Disney does not get credit for pioneering this ride system. That honor instead goes to a park in Belgium named Bobbejaanland, whose El Paso special opened back in 1988, just 5 years after Horizons. This tasty chalupa of an attraction is about as authentic as a fraternity's Cinco de Mayo party, but was the first of its kind to combine a shooting gallery with a dark ride. Originally, riders aboard El Paso would shoot strategically placed targets throughout the scenes to trigger various animations, but eventually a scoring system was added to make the experience more competitive. El Paso would run unopposed for the next decade, until its cowboys were soon overshadowed by the new toy in town.
2 words: Sputnik. Once the astronauts went up, children only wanted to play with space toys. I know how that feels.
Yes, Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger spin first opened in the Magic Kingdom in 1998, and was soon duplicated at every Disney resort. You too could now become a Space Ranger and help Buzz stop the evil Emperor Zurg from taking the toy's coveted power source. crystallic fusion batteries.
They're called harbulary batteries.
No, they're not!
With Space Ranger Spin, the idea of the shooter exploded and soon could be found in virtually every major theme park around the globe, with the Toy Story property serving as the basis for not one, but 2 separate shooting attractions itself.
Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right?
As for some of the rest. Men in Black Alien Attack at Universal Studios Florida, themed around the popular Will Smith-led sci-fi franchise, built off of Buzz's technology by having riders now able to shoot at other vehicles. The ride also introduced multiple endings based around how well your team scored. Challenge of Tutankhamun at Walibi, Belgium would take this idea one step further by changing the length of the ride depending on your point threshold, with the highest scores experiencing a completely separate finale. Aliens, ghosts, and monsters tend to be some of the more common shooter themes, with the more bizarre including mice, sentient popcorn, and evil candy. Canada's Wonderland's Wonder Mountain's Guardian became the world's first roller coaster shooter, ending with a 30-foot drop track. Meowwolf's Kaleidoscape at Elitch Gardens is the first attraction from the popular, psychedelically inclined entertainment company, known for their mind-bending interactive art installations. The charming Knott's Berry Tales Return to the Fair revives the original theme of the park's first dark ride, Knott's Berry Tales, letting riders shoot boysenberry jelly at all manner of cute critters. And for the Splash Mountain fans complaining about that ride's demise, all I'll say is Berry Tales did it first. Though, speaking of Splash Mountain, before the cast of Song of the South moved in, there was talk of an interactive log flume themed around the hillbilly cousins to the Country Bears, where guests would assume the role of sheriffs to stop the Bears' illegal moonshine operation. This was the earliest of several Blue Sky Disney shooters that would later include Dick Tracy Crime Stoppers and the Fireworks Factory in Discovery Bay. Legoland's Splash Battle finally brought the Aqua Shooter to life, pitting riders against one another in a battle on the high seas. Lego Ninjago The Ride also played off of the idea of the classic shooter, but opted out of the classic guns for using the riders' hands instead. Spooderman's Midway Mania, Web Slingers, a Spider-Man adventure, uses the same technology to transform guests into wannabe superheroes, as they protect the land from invasions of Spider-Bots. Slingers is fun enough, but it seems as if the hand-waving technology would have been better suited for a different iconic Marvel character. Just kidding, it's Mephisto. Now, if you want your Spider-Man experience to be truly amazing, you'll have to shell out for one of those blaster add-ons which act as DLC for the attraction and enhance your movements. Although the concept of pay-to-play interactivity is nothing new, this is the first time it's been done for a specific attraction, and it seems the future of theme park DLC rests on Web Slinger's financial performance. Which brings us to our final position, the Engineer, more commonly known as the Button Presser. Pretty much what it sounds like, these type of attractions have riders press a button, or if they're feeling really spicy, pull a lever, to elicit a response. Universal Studios' roller coaster, Rip Ride Rocket, gives its riders the options to pre-select what song they'd like to listen to during their ride, ranging from Evanescence to ZZ Top, and even boasts a series of secret songs. Because every roller coaster should have the Muppets as an option. Hollywood Studios and California Adventure's long-closed Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Play It adapted the button presser to the format of the hit game show, where audience members could fight for a chance to play in the infamous hot seat. Instead of cash prizes, everything from hats and pins to Disneyland Cruise Line vacations could be won. Regis Philbin even made a few pre-recorded cameos to complete the experience. Those looking to add a little fear to their quiz-taking should visit Ettenland's The School.
School? Psst, not today.
Playing off of the pop quiz-induced anxiety that many of us experienced in grade school, riders are tasked with answering a series of trivia questions from the school's long-dead staff, which are then actually graded at the end. In a similar vein to Horizon's finale, Spaceship Earth not only lets riders choose their own ending, but even personalizes the experience by overlaying their face onto some knockoff Jetsons characters. A classic theme park staple, the on-ride photo has lately been used as means of interactivity, as is the case with Magic Kingdom's Haunted Mansion.
And no flash pictures, please. We spirits are frightfully sensitive to bright lights.
Star Tours The Adventures Continue is probably the most successful form of photo-based interactivity today, as one lucky guest is chosen to be the coveted rebel spy with each flight. Moving from one galaxy to another, Horizon's own successor, Mission Space, uses NASA-grade technology to simulate a training mission to Mars. Or if you're of a weaker constitution like myself, perform a quick lap around the Earth in basically a more nauseating soaring around the world. Which, quick aside from the script, both sides do still rotate, they just don't advertise that fact. So if you're having second thoughts about being spun in a circle while trapped inside a space-themed broom closet, it's best to just skip it altogether. Those brave enough to ride, though, are asked to press several buttons throughout their flight, though there aren't really any consequences if you're too ill to complete the task. The same, though, cannot be said for Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, Disney's latest addition to the genre where you are in full control of the simulator. Or rather, the two luckiest members of each group of 6 are in control, and the rest can either fire at enemy ships or just sit there and yell unhelpful instructions at complete strangers. Much like a trip to IKEA, this ride has been known to make or break relationships.
Family truly is the greatest adventure of all on the ground!
Though that may be more due to high expectations overshadowing execution, which has never plagued the Star Wars fandom before. Speaking of high expectations, both of Super Nintendo World's attractions are button pressers, even if their promos would have you believe otherwise. First up is Yoshi's Adventure, a pleasant omnimover where riders press one of 3 corresponding buttons to the different colored Yoshi eggs found throughout the ride. It's a simple enough concept that encourages young children to be part of the interactive fun. Mario Kart Koopa's Challenge employs augmented reality for its interactive elements, allowing riders to shoot virtual shells at their virtual opponents. The attraction's main flaw is that for a racing theme, you have virtually no control over the movement of the vehicle. Coins are awarded by turning your steering wheel when prompted to do so, but it all amounts to a well-themed button-pressing shooter rather than a true racing attraction. On the plus side, this does ensure that it won't ruin any friendships, unlike its source material. Last but certainly not least, there's my personal favorite of the button pressers, Symbolica, the crowning jewel of Efteling. This trackless attraction takes visitors through the magnificent and mystical Hartenhorf Castle, where they have the ability to choose from 3 different tours: Heroes, Music, or Treasure. While all vehicles travel in tandem for the first portion of the ride, halfway through the carts split off and visit separate rooms themed around each tour. Interactive displays in each vehicle allow riders to play a minigame of sorts, whether it's making diamonds glow or playing a whimsical pipe organ. Despite being wildly different in theme, I view Symbolica as the most spiritually similar to Horizons, as both coupled a lush environment with cutting-edge interactive elements that enhance the story rather than dictate it. Chewbacca! Hope you don't mind that I ran this segment without you. Yes, well, next time I'll remember to let the Wookiee in. You better go before he changes his mind. Super Nintendo World opened at Universal Studios Japan in 2020, becoming the world's first truly gamified theme park land. Thanks to a close partnership with Nintendo's own creative team, Universal was not only able to finally bring the world of the Mushroom Kingdom to life, but also evoke the classic Mario gaming experience itself. With the help of a handy wristband and phone app, visitors can participate in several challenges to collect 3 keys throughout the land. Encounters with piranha plants, Goombas, and Bob-ombs lead up to a boss battle with Bowser Jr. Other interactive elements encourage players to participate in several Mario Party-inspired minigames, though unfortunately Slapperazzi was not included. With Super Nintendo World, the next evolution of the classic theme park land was finally realized, as the entire land remains the focal point and not just a backdrop for the attractions within, an idea that the theme park community has been trying to perfect for years. The charming fairy tale vignettes of Efteling were one of the first examples of a limited theme park interactivity.
Ezeltje, stadje!
with even their trash cans providing some amusing interactive fun. Toontown was Disney's first major attempt at employing a series of land-based interactive elements, bringing the zany world of the Toons to life by encouraging guests to open mailboxes, play musical instruments, or even set off fireworks. The electric doors were always a personal favorite in giving unsuspecting tourists a jolt. In its heyday, Toontown acted as one large dynamic playground, though the effect has certainly diminished over the years with the loss of the Jolly Trolley, Goofy's Bounce House, and the post-2020 bacterial nightmare of Chippendale's Treehouse. Hopefully, Runaway Railway can help inject new life into the dying land, as much like the classic cartoons and Roger Rabbit, more and more people seem to forget about it every year. Unless there's another fight there, of course. Rather than focusing on entire lands, Disney instead would opt for smaller interactive queues, beginning with the Indiana Jones adventure in 1995. Often regarded as one of the most immersive queues Disney has ever designed, brave souls exploring the Temple of Mara can tempt fate in the Spike Room, decode Mara glyphs, or cause an unfortunate accident with an unseen archaeologist. Disney World now plays host to a plethora of interactive queues ranging from the clever, as is the case with Big Thunder Mountain, to the bizarre. Magic Kingdom's Haunted Mansion decided to do away with Walt's idea of letting the ghost take care of the inside, and leads riders through an interactive graveyard that offers very contrasting viewpoints on the macabre.
Someone will die.
Of fun.
And of murder.
Though it does contain a very un-Disney case of child murder in a game where you have to determine which family member killed who. Always hot on the mouse's heels, Universal devised several interactive queues of their own. All iterations of their Totally Not an Indiana Jones Ride rip-off Mummy coaster include several guest-triggered traps, and Islands of Adventure's Skull Island Reign of Kong lets it be Halloween Horror Nights every day, with live scare actors populating the queue's dark corridors. Race Through New York, starring Jimmy Fallon, did away with the queue entirely. Instead, guests are assigned a certain boarding group and wait in the Tonight Show's lobby and can play tabletop games or even charge their phones, while enjoying such entertainment as the Ragtime Gals and #the Panda.
This is what you worked 3.5 years on.
It's not often that a queue ends up eclipsing the ride itself, though I suppose it's better than the Jay Leno experience where he kicks you out of the ride halfway through. As evidenced by Super Nintendo World, where Universal really succeeds, however, are interactive lands. The Wizarding World of Harry Potter truly reinvented the concept with interactive wands that affect the environment when the right spell is cast, with varying responses based on how well the spell is said and performed. An idea that began with the Ollivander's Wand Shop experience, where only one lucky witch or wizard could perform a spell or two, it now encompasses both Hogsmeade and Diagon Alley, with over 25 interactive locations. Though, to quote Mr. Gold,
all magic comes with a price.
And each one will set a wizard back about 8 galleons and 15 knuts, or $55 for us no-mages. Still, by striking the perfect balance between immersion and engagement, the wands prove that interactivity could remain popular despite the paywall. And Disney has been playing catch-up ever since. Their immediate attempt at immersion was Pandora: The World of Avatar, and it was thematically impressive, but ultimately fell flat in terms of interactivity as the manufactured bioluminescence turned out to be non-reactive, and nobody really wants to turn themselves into a Na'vi action figure. The big gamble came with Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, and rather than opting for permanent interactive fixtures like Toontown or Hogsmeade, Galaxy's Edge instead based its interactivity almost entirely off of the Disney Play app. Don't worry if you've never heard of it, most people haven't. The Play app was designed to allow all attractions to be quote-unquote interactive, without having to deal with all those pesky theming elements. Minigames based around each attraction could be played while waiting in line, with only Peter Pan's Flight featuring an animated Tinkerbell prop in the queue. Galaxy's Edge was designed to be the cornerstone of the app, with their data hacking software letting guests choose to fight for the First Order or the Resistance. Other games involved spying on conversations, looting crates, and jamming signals, but all remained solely within the virtual world with little physical impact on the rest of the land. It's highly likely this app will be retrofitted for the upcoming Star Wars Galactic Cruiser, but more on that later. The Play app is just the latest installment in a long line of interactive apps and games from Disney. Pal Mickey was first introduced in the early 2000s as an interactive stuffed animal, who would share fun facts and wait times with you as you traveled through the park.
Up ahead is the Hollywood Tower Hotel, otherwise known as the Tower of Terror. Nothing to see there, though. Nothing but 13 stories of sheer screaming terror. Gee, I'm glad I'm not 40 inches tall, because they won't even let me in the door. Nope, can't get near the place.
Think of him more as a kid-friendly version of Wiki Bear.
Morality is an illusion. Nietzsche was right.
Shut up! Don't quote Nietzsche, Bear.
With the advent of Florida's Magic Band, you can now see your name occasionally pop up in a few attractions. Though that's hardly comparable to the band's main draw of paperless FastPass, theme park tickets, and room keys. Unfortunately, the days of complimentary Magic Bands are behind us. But hey, at least FastPass will always be free. Kim Possible World Showcase Adventure let guests rent a communicator to help battle various villains around Epcot's World Showcase. This would evolve into Agent P's World Showcase Adventure, and saw participants join Awuka to stop Dr. Doofenshmirtz from releasing his series of global innators. Of course, this would now become DuckTales World Showcase Adventure, though I wouldn't get your hopes up for many luxurious changes. After all,
Larry, I'm on DuckTales.
The Disney cruise ships also feature interactive art pieces that animate when activated, as seen in the Midship Detective Agency, a series of self-guided games that take players throughout the ship to solve some fun mysteries. The now closed Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom applied the same technology to help players battle a smorgasbord of Disney villains throughout the park. Originally designed as an ongoing card game with progressing levels of difficulty, Sorcerers never reached its true potential, often remaining overlooked and underpromoted. Which may be for the best, as some of the villains were rather odd choices. Finally, we have Disney's flagship interactive attraction itself, Disney Quest. The overpriced arcade to end overpriced arcades, Disney Quest was designed to provide you all that interactive theme park fun at half the budget. Beginning with an elevator trip hosted by the Genie, visitors could explore a handful of varying interactive rides and games. Since virtually every aspect of this has been talked about ad nauseum, I'll just stick to mentioning a few highlights like Cyberspace Mountain, where you could design and then ride your own roller coaster with Bill Nye the Science Guy's help, and Sid's Create-A-Toy, where you could design and buy your own monstrous creation. Epcot's upcoming Play Pavilion seems to be directly inspired by Disney Quest, and at least will breathe new life into the long-shuttered pavilion.
You are not the first to pass this way, nor shall you be the last. Those who seek the spirit of interactivity face peril and adventure, but more often find beauty and charm.
Billed as the world's first live-action immersive theme park, Evermore first welcomed World Walkers in 2018. Part Renaissance Fair, part high-budget live-action roleplay, or LARPing for short, Evermore invites visitors to explore its fantastical realms and become part of its ongoing story throughout their journey. As for just what that story is, in short, A time-traveling inventor came across several portals to new lands that open and close with each season. Each portal allows a certain sect of mystical characters to cross over. These range from your basic dwarves and elves to vampires and goblins during the Halloween season, and even Dickensian villagers during the winter months. The town of Evermore is overseen by 6 guilds, who all require a series of tests for you to join their ranks. Completion of these tasks will allow you to become a member of that respective guild and the ability to become a permanent resident of Evermore.
Get it? Got it. Good.
Thankfully, any prior knowledge of the park's backstory is helpful, but not required, as the level of immersion really depends on the visitor's own actions. Since the park has no attractions, save for a train that circles the property, the success of Evermore's narrative entirely relies on the social interactions visitors have with its large cast of characters, and by performing the aforementioned guild quests. Basic tasks include archery, ballad writing, sword fighting, treasure hunting, potion making, spell conjuring, and trading lawsuits with Taylor Swift.
What was that?
Yes. Apparently Swift's latest album affected their merchandise sales so heavily that the park decided to sue the pop star, who in turn countersued due to the park playing her music without a license. You know, those classic medieval songs like Bad Blood and Willow. I stand corrected. Their more bizarre business practices aside, Evermore does deserve credit for its ambition in creating an 11-acre play space and its reliance on guest participation to dictate its world building. Evermore's creator and CEO, Ken Brettschneider, equates his part to a real-life Westworld, just minus the sex robots, explaining, "What this means is it's not just you that's coming to Evermore for the day or the evening and playing through for that day. It's every time you enter. The residents of Evermore, as well as other guests, will start to build your personality and persona and continue to be part of this living, breathing world." Whether or not Evermore's model will be feasible in the long term remains to be seen, with many reporting a disparity between the practicality of the park's promises and its lackluster execution. That said, it still remains one of the most prominent cases of blurring the lines between theme parks and immersive theater today. Speaking of theater, Broadway has been employing interactive elements for years now, for better or for worse.
Howdy, folks!
Oh no, please do not make me interact with the performers. You know how much I hate the hey!
Hares crowd-surfing hippies and please God no cats lap-climbing felines were among the first to bend the fourth wall.
Stop that! You're not going into a song while I'm here.
The Tony Award-winning Once has an actual bar on stage, allowing audience members to grab a drink before the show. And the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee selects several lucky members to participate in the titular bee, spelling words alongside the cast. Natasha Pierre and the Great Comet of 1812 transferred its cabaret roots to Broadway by erecting an entire seating section onto the stage itself, encouraging audience members to become part of the action. Based off of Tolstoy's War and Peace, all you really need to know about it is
there's a war going on out there somewhere, and Andre isn't here.
Besides merely interacting with the performers, some plays and musicals take it a step further and ask the audience to determine the outcome of the story. Ayn Rand's 1934 courtroom drama, The Night of January 16th, has the audience assume the role of the jury and collectively determine if the character of the defendant is innocent or guilty. The Mystery of Edwin Drood, based off of Charles Dickens's unfinished final work, has its audience vote for the murderer at intermission, with the cast then performing one of 7 possible endings, while Trail to Oregon, by Star Kid Productions of Harry freaking Potter fame, lets audience members not only choose the characters' names, but also who will die of dysentery, a staple of the video game it's based on. Today, immersive theater continues to stretch the boundaries of visual performance, stepping off of the Great White Way and into a physical location, such as an actual meat pie shop for a 2017 production of Sweeney Todd.
The audience becomes the third character. I mean, no matter what, we have to relate these songs to them and with them. And as a result, that changes our show because you never know how they're going to react.
Or across 5 separate floors of a fictional hotel, as is the case with Punch Drunk's Sleep No More, a film noir retelling of the Scottish play that unfolds over 3 hours with most scenes happening simultaneously, leading the mask-wearing audience to choose which actor to follow next, and sometimes even being forced to experience certain scenes alone. This style of storytelling has since been adopted by theme parks, as seen with Knott's Berry Farm's Ghost Town Alive. While previously discussed in our study of shared universes, Ghost Town Alive continues to be the reigning champion when it comes to theme park live-action immersion, building an entire town's worth of characters and stories to interact with. Like Sleep No More, park guests can choose to follow a series of intersecting storylines throughout the day, and much like Evermore, even perform optional tasks for the townsfolk. Good Samaritans are rewarded by becoming a member of the sheriff's posse, while ne'er-do-wells land in the county jail. Of course, there is no more famous an inmate than Sad-Eyed Joe, Knott's own interactive jailbird, who's always happy to impart a story to passers-by.
Hey, good to have you here on the farm. You know, we've been closed for a while.
Yeah.
I had no idea because I'm in jail. Every day's the same for me.
Sad-Eyed Joe was just the first in a long line of interactive characters that today include everything from alien shop owners to talking fountains and shrunken heads.
It seems like he's just hanging around.
Yeah. Hanging around!
He doesn't have the fortune to be standing around like most of us.
Not so much. Now, are you...
Must be nice.
Epcot played host to several interactive robots in the early 80s, starting with Communicore's Smart One, who possessed basic speech recognition and played a number guessing game with guests.
Let's see. According to my calculations, the number you picked was 9. Thanks for playing. Stop by later if you want to play some more.
Gyro, and later Horizon's own Gyro, short for GE Robot, could also be found wandering Future World and conversing with visitors.
You like pink, don't you? Yes, you like pink, don't you? Alright, I'll talk to someone else.
Disney's Living Character initiative in the mid-2000s saw the creation of several free-roaming animatronics, beginning with the beloved Push the Talking Trash Can. Designed by Daniel Deutsch, versions of Push could be found at every Disney resort for nearly 2 decades. Similar to Gyro and Gyro, Push's technology relied on a nearby undercover puppeteer utilizing a radio transmitter and voice-changing microphone. Sadly, Disney chose not to renew Push's contract when it expired in 2014, but he will always continue to live on in our trash-loving hearts. Later additions to the LCI included Wall-E, Lucky the Dinosaur, Remy the Rat of All Our Dreams, and Dr. Bunsen Honeydew and Beaker's Mobile Muppet Labs.
Alright, Beaker, that's enough. There's no crying in science.
Disney initially promised to have living droids roaming throughout Galaxy's Edge, and even tested them in Tomorrowland. But they have yet to materialize on planet.
No dogs allowed.
Several interactive animatronics still exist within attractions themselves. At California Adventure, Roz makes sure Monstropolis visitors know that she is always watching.
Man, in the first row, is that your husband? Good thing, he was winking at me. Sir, I'm single too.
And Mr. Potato Head serves as the carnival barker for Toy Story Midway Mania. Just don't ask about the ear. And no interactive animatronic list is complete without a mention of Universal's E.T. adventure, which, thanks to some handy intergalactic passports, ends with the titular alien personally thanking us for saving his acid trip of a planet. While not technically alive, D23 Expo's Autonomatronics are the first generation of animatronics to be able to see, hear, and think for themselves.
Oh, let me see your face. What it looks like to be so famous. Oh, that's... Yes! Oh, you are a ninja.
First introducing Otto in 2009, and then the Great Destiny in 2011, we've certainly come a long way since Smart One.
Hey, Gladys! I found a face! Good! And is that face smiling? Well, let's see. Hey, they are smiling! Great! And how does that make you feel? Better!
And I, for one, can't wait to live in a world where when Pirates of the Caribbean breaks down, the pirates will actually eat the tourists. Stemming from this idea of interactive animatronics are the increasingly common animated interactive shows, beginning with Turtle Talk with Crush. Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor and Tokyo Stitch Encounter, which was first tested at Disneyland's Innoventions in 2005, all play off of this concept, with even the Disney Cruise Line now getting in on the act. Disney even created a special version of Turtle Talk for the Children's Hospital of Orange County. Recently, Imagineering has even begun testing with a live actor in place of an animated one.
Jingles, were you having a little bit of a hard time understanding me?
Yes.
Yeah. That's what I thought. But that's why I made this place. It's my voice amplifier. Makes my voice louder so I can talk to mainlanders like you.
While long since closed, Las Vegas' Star Trek experience beamed tourists to the bridge of the Enterprise D, which was populated by a host of live crew members. This multi-part journey began as a walkthrough experience and culminated with a simulated flight over early 90s Vegas. The later Voyager-inspired Borg encounter added a horror element with Borg actors trying to assimilate riders as they escaped a dreaded Borg cube. This may all sound oddly similar to a certain recent attraction based off of a famous John Boyega starring sci-fi series. Yes, Indonesia's Pacific Rim's Shatterdome Strike takes riders on a kaiju-filled battlescape, with 2 separate walkthrough portions, including one through the innards of one of the gigantic monsters. Coincidentally, Shatterdome Strike opened the same year as the more well-known Rise of the Resistance, which has recruits interact with both members of the Resistance and the First Order. And while Galaxy's Edge's vision for land-based interactivity may not have met the mark, Rise's cast members more than make up for it, with the imposing First Order officers often serving as the highlight for the entire attraction. The upcoming Star Wars Galactic Cruiser will take Rise's model and expand it over a 3-day stay, providing guests with an itinerary chock full of interactive and immersive events. Thanks to some, let's say, poorly received promos, we can now glimpse several specific interactive elements, including a Smuggler's Run style game on the bridge, and a lightsaber training program that wouldn't seem out of place at your local arcade. Certainly nothing that seems to justify the $5,000 price tag, which may explain the high volume of cancellations over the past few months. Who knows how successful it'll end up being, but hey, at least the lightsaber's pretty. Rounding out this category, an enormous range of interactive experiences, including everything from murder mystery dinners and shadowcast films, to escape rooms, virtual reality arcades, and art exhibits. Entertainment mogul Meow Wolf has a series of interactive installations, with their recently opened Omega Mart taking Las Vegas visitors on an interdimensional tour of a psychedelic superstore, where not everything is what it seems. The format has even been applied to such classical artists as Monet, Klimt, and Van Gogh, though the latter is not nearly as interactive as Doctor Who would have led you to believe. Themed restaurants, a concept that you all know is near and dear to my heart, have featured a wide variety of interactive components. Classic venues like the Jekyll and Hyde Club rely on live actors and animatronics, while modern installations such as Tokyo's Team Lab Borderless utilize projection mapping and lighting elements to bring your food to life. As for projects on the immediate horizon, the Evermore-esque Storyville Gardens will transport visitors from Nashville, Tennessee to a variety of globally inspired literary worlds, in an effort to encourage readership in children. While still a few years from completion, it seems Storyville is posed to continue the long-standing traditions of interactive experiences, and become another staple of the genre. For Interactivity's spirit has always been, will always be, adventure.
Well, we're almost back home.
Oh, it went by so quickly.
Yes, but one nice thing about traveling to the future is that the journey is always just beginning. And I'll tell you something, if we can dream it, we can really do it. And that's the most exciting part.
I hope you've enjoyed exploring these interactive worlds with me. It's always fun to take a look back at tomorrow. And as for just what that tomorrow will bring, all I can say is, keep your eyes on the horizon. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. This has been a personal labor of love of mine for the past several months, and I really appreciated your patience with me while I worked on it. I want to take a moment to thank this episode's featured guests, my dear friends Bill and Camille, who graciously agreed to help after I proposed this crazy idea to them, and Emily Rose, who you may recognize from our cast member tribute video. Also, we have a Patreon now, and you too can have your name added to the ranks of these fine Visioneers, including our Platinum Visioneer, Garrett Gordon, and my assistants to the regional manager, AJ Dana and Alyssa Clark. So what's your favorite interactive attraction, land, or experience? Was it something I missed? Please leave a comment below. I really enjoy reading them and hearing your thoughts. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, feel free to give a like, comment, or subscribe, and I will see you all next month with a brand new installment of What's the Score?
From all of us, thanks for exploring these new horizons.